When someone ignores you, most people feel a sting of rejection, a rush of anxiety, and a desperate urge to chase, explain, or fix whatever went wrong. But what if their silence is actually your greatest advantage? See, being ignored is more than just an emotional blow, it's a psychological crossroads. Most react with panic and self-doubt, trying to force a response, but the real power is in what you do next, because their silence creates a space for you to reclaim your frame, rebuild your value, and flip the script entirely. The truth is, being ignored reveals more about them than it ever does about you. It exposes their avoidance, their games, or their inability to handle real connection. And if you respond like a stoic, detached, self-respecting, unbothered, you become unforgettable. The one who didn't beg for attention or collapse under pressure, but used the silence as fuel to level up. In this video, I'll break down exactly what to do the moment you realize you're being ignored, how to use that space to your advantage, and how to emerge stronger, more attractive, and completely in control, no matter what they do next. The psychology of being ignored is complex, but at its core, it's rarely about your worth, and almost always about the other person's own insecurities, avoidance, or emotional immaturity. People pull away for a handful of reasons. Sometimes they're overwhelmed by their own feelings and fear vulnerability, so they create distance to regain control. Sometimes it's a subtle power play. They want to make you chase, to feel their absence, or to test your value by withdrawing their attention. Other times, their silence is just a sign of emotional laziness. They don't have the courage to communicate honestly, so they leave you in limbo, hoping you'll just get the message without a real conversation. But here's the truth most miss. Being ignored is never as personal as it feels. It's about their own inability to hold tension, face discomfort, or show up with maturity. And yet, the first instinct for most is to take it personally, to internalize the rejection, or to chase validation. But this only reinforces the dynamic. The more you seek answers or closure from someone who's withdrawing, the more you train them to use silence as a tool for control. When you understand the psychology behind being ignored, you stop reacting emotionally and start responding strategically. You realize their silence is a mirror for their own issues, not a reflection of your value. And with that awareness, you're positioned to move with power instead of desperation, turning what was meant to break your confidence into the very catalyst that builds it. When you feel ignored, the worst thing you can do is chase, because every message, every just checking in, every attempt to get a response is a silent confession that their attention defines your worth. Chasing is the death of attraction and respect. It hands them all the power and signals that you're willing to beg for scraps even at the cost of your dignity. But the moment you pull your energy back, everything shifts. Instead of feeding the cycle, you reclaim your frame. You show, without a word, that you're not dependent on anyone's validation, that your self-respect comes before someone else's mood swings or emotional games. The act of not chasing isn't passive, it's an active assertion of your value. It's you stepping out of their emotional orbit and becoming the center of your own. That shift is magnetic. Suddenly, you stop reacting and start responding. You become unpredictable. The one who was ignored becomes the one who is missed. Most people think if they don't chase, they'll lose their chance forever. But the truth is, the opposite happens. When you reclaim your frame and let go of the urge to fix what someone else is breaking, you send a powerful signal. You're not desperate, you're desirable, and you're willing to walk away from anything that doesn't serve your peace. That's what forces people to rethink, to notice, to feel your absence instead of your pursuit. Pull back, upgrade your energy, and let the dynamic reset itself. The one who controls the frame controls the game. When you rise in silence and let your absence speak, you're triggering the deepest psychological motivator there is: curiosity and regret. See, when someone ignores you and you respond with silence, detachment, and total self-respect, you become a mystery again. People are wired to be drawn to what they can't predict or control, And nothing is more unpredictable than the person who doesn't react to being ignored, who doesn't beg, explain, or make noise. In the stillness, you force them to face the void they created. No reassurance, no chase, no energy. Instead, you go cold and focus on your own world. This is when your silence grows louder than any words ever could. Because people don't remember who tried hardest to please them. They remember who had the courage to disappear and let them sit with their own choices. Your absence becomes a presence in their mind. It triggers anxiety, curiosity, and the sudden awareness that your energy was never guaranteed. As days pass and you don't fold or return, their imagination starts filling the gaps. What are you doing? Why aren't you reaching out? Are you done for good? Did I really lose you? That's the mental loop that makes silence your ultimate weapon. You become rare. The person they thought would always be available is suddenly untouchable. The longer you hold that frame, the more your absence rewrites the story. They have to face themselves, their decisions, and the fact that losing your presence might be permanent. The key is patience. Let silence do the talking. Most people break the spell too soon and go back, but the real shift happens when you trust your absence to create the tension that words never could. When you're being ignored, most people sit in limbo, overthinking, spiraling, and waiting for the other person to return. But this is the moment to flip the script and turn that neglect into the raw fuel for your next evolution. Instead of sitting in self-doubt or replaying old conversations, use their silence as the starting gun for a personal upgrade, physically, emotionally, and socially. Start a new routine, double down on your goals, get stronger, sharper, and more self-assured. Every gym session, every new skill, every night you go out with friends and laugh harder than before. These are not just distractions, they're evidence to yourself that your life doesn't pause when someone else chooses absence. While they're gone, make yourself undeniable. Document your growth, expand your circle, pour into passions and projects that light you up, and remind yourself that your value was never tied to a single person's attention. This is the kind of energy that radiates. People sense when someone has leveled up in silence, when someone glows without seeking validation, when someone turns pain into power. And here's the beauty. When you come out of this phase, you're not waiting to see if they return so you can feel whole. You're whole regardless. You've built so much momentum that, whether they circle back or not, the version of you they left behind no longer exists. That's how you win. By becoming too valuable to ignore, not for revenge, but because you refuse to let anyone else's absence become your limitation. Every act of self-investment is a silent answer to their silence. You chose you. When or if they return after ignoring you, this is where most people sabotage their new power, by instantly rewarding bad behavior with open arms, desperate explanations, or the same old dynamic. But if you want to keep control and truly set the new standard, your first move has to be intentional and your boundaries unbreakable. The energy is simple. You greet them with calm, casual indifference. No grudge, no desperate validation, just a self-assured presence that says you've been thriving, not waiting. Your first words should never be about the past or how much their absence hurt you, but a subtle acknowledgement that life has been good, busy, even better than before. Let your tone be light but firm, signaling that while you're open to reconnection, it will be on your terms. Make it clear, directly or indirectly, that access to your time, attention, and heart isn't given out of habit anymore. It's earned. Set boundaries around communication, respect, and consistency, and don't be afraid to walk away at the first sign of old patterns. If they try to gaslight, minimize, or ignore the previous silence, meet it with a quiet, confident statement, "I expect better," or "That's not what I'm looking for." Then change the subject, or, if necessary, step away entirely. This is how you flip the script, by showing that your value has only increased during their absence and that the cost of entry is now higher. If they're genuine, they'll rise to meet your new standard. If they're not, they'll fade again, and you'll realize you never lost anything worth chasing. From this point forward, every interaction is a test, not of your worth, but of their willingness to meet the new elevated version of you. Hold the line and let them do the work. If they never return, you win anyway, because the whole point of their silence was never about them. It was about revealing your own capacity for growth, resilience, and unshakable self-respect. Most people see being ignored as the ultimate rejection, but it's really a forced awakening, a push from the universe to invest in yourself, level up your standards, and break any illusion that your value is tied to someone else's attention. By not chasing, by rising in silence, and by turning that absence into motivation, you build a version of yourself that is not just attractive to others, but magnetic to every new opportunity life has to offer. The reality is, those who ignore you for power never expected you to stop chasing. They counted on your weakness, your addiction to validation, your inability to sit with discomfort. But when you show that your life keeps moving forward, brighter, busier, and more focused, you send a message not just to them, but to everyone watching. You are never dependent on one person for your worth. You become the one who got away, the one whose value was proven by how quickly you transformed silence into strength. Whether they come back or not, you've set a new standard for every relationship moving forward. You're no longer a chaser. You're a chooser. You hold the pen, set the terms, and live with the kind of self-respect that only comes from walking through the fire and refusing to get burned. That's the real win, not their return, but your evolution. Being ignored isn't a curse, it's a catalyst. It's the moment life asks you if you're going to chase what's running or stand tall and let your presence speak louder than any words. When you refuse to beg for attention, when you use silence to fuel your own growth, you become untouchable. Whether they return or disappear forever, you've already won by becoming someone who never lets another person's absence shrink your value. So if you're ready to claim your power, subscribe for more strategies that put you back in control. Drop a comment if you've ever turned someone's silence into your own comeback story. And remember, those who know their worth never beg to be seen. Stay silent, stay strong, and let the world feel the power of your absence.